and we have rescued America from a terrible drift to the radical left.
It was a sweeping defeat in the United States Congress and one of the most extraordinary victories in the history of the NRA.
Oh, it was a way to get back. It was a way to let those people know how we feel.
Dozens of gun ban backers ousted for abandoning the rights of law-abiding Americans, including longtime friends of the NRA like Jack Brooks of Texas and Tom Foley of Washington State. He was the first Speaker of the House to lose a re-election bid in 134 years.
So first of all, again, let me now congratulate George Nethercutt.
The results were stunning, a major miscalculation by the White House.
President Clinton said, walk that plank. Well, they walked the plank, and the public deeply resented this misrepresentation about these guns. They're not machine guns.
And for the first time in 4 decades, Republicans had majorities in the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives. In fact, of the 276 Senate and House candidates the NRA endorsed, 221 of them were elected. That's 80%. Plus, 41 out of 45 House Democrats endorsed by the NRA survived. That's 91%. Even President Clinton was forced to admit his gun ban was a political debacle for him and his allies.
I don't think it's a secret to anybody in this room that several members of the last Congress who voted for that aren't here tonight because they voted for it.
It's not going to be politics as usual, business as usual anymore. The people are starting to stand up and say, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take anymore.
And it wasn't long before President Clinton's own anti-gun Justice Department was forced to admit what police had already predicted.
The mere existence of these so-called assault weapons and their high-capacity magazines, according to us in the trenches field officers, are not the threat to society or to us, nor are they the weapons of choice, and I've heard this word until I want to get sick. The weapons of choice for street gangs, or worse, the elusive drug lords.
There it was, the stark truth, but the battle far from over.
I want you to think about the agenda here. It's brick by brick, dismantle this document, the Constitution of the United States. They want to redefine our freedoms.
And this year, freedom needs you more than ever before. That's why I say, like our founders, you must forget all else and remember only freedom.
In the months ahead, the NRA mounted a massive grassroots campaign. Freedom First rallies across the country aimed at keeping Al Gore from carrying on the Clinton gun ban legacy.
This is not just a beefed up or imagined threat for our gun rights. This is a real threat to our gun rights.
These people who want to restrict my gun right, I want to say to them, how dare you take away my ability, my right to protect not only myself, but my son, my family, my home.
I think Americans need to stand up for their rights, and if we don't stand up, we'll lose them.
A fight for freedom and truth had triumphed. Al Gore was defeated. A defeat President Clinton sorely conceded was because of you, the members of the NRA.
You've got to give it to them. They've done a good job. They probably had more to do with anyone else in the fact we didn't win the House this time. And they hurt Al Gore. The NRA beat him in Arkansas. The NRA and Ralph Nader stand right behind the Supreme Court in their ability to claim that they put George Bush in the White House. I mean, the NRA had enough votes in New Hampshire, in Arkansas, maybe in Tennessee, and in Missouri, right, to beat us. And they nearly whipped us 2 or 3 other places. They worked him good.
A true victory for the NRA. And because 20 members of Congress were ousted, and because President Clinton's anti-gun agenda had been destroyed and Al Gore had been defeated, the politics of Washington, D.C. have been turned upside down. Politicians and the media were no longer able, and frankly, many of them were no longer willing to stand behind the lie. And when CNN tried, it got slammed down hard by the NRA's Wayne LaPierre.
Wow.
CNN staged a fake demonstration with Broward County, Florida's Sheriff Ken Jenney using an AK-47 machine gun, claiming it was on the list of banned semi-autos.
That's right. It's an old Chinese AK-47 that has been banned.
And that is one of the banned weapons, the 19 currently banned weapons.
Now this is an automatic.
Wow.
Not true. Machine guns have effectively been banned by the National Firearms Act of 1934. But this demonstration wasn't about facts. It was about convincing viewers to keep the 1994 ban on the books.
A pretty powerful demonstration of the firepower of these weapons.
No doubt it puts it in perspective. Our John Zarrella, great report.
But CNN didn't get away with it. Within hours, the NRA's Wayne LaPierre exposed CNN's lies for what they were.
Your reporter faked that story yesterday. It deliberately misread the viewer. There's no way it could be true, and I challenge CNN to defend it.
Well, we're not going to continue this interview because our reporter did not fake.
Because you don't want the truth. Right. The truth matters. The public needs to hear the truth, and the truth is every police officer on the street knows it. There's not a dime worth of difference between the guns on the ban list and the guns off the ban list in terms of their performance characteristics, and I challenge CNN again to defend that story to its viewers because it's not true.
What do you say
all day yesterday, you misled the viewers.
CNN was faced with a media nightmare. Either stand behind the story and perpetuate the lie, or come clean. And that's exactly what Wayne LaPierre forced them to do. Another sea change moment with the media, because that's when the attempt to show the semi-automatic firearm as a fully automatic spray-firing machine gun stopped. Here's the correction CNN aired 3 days later.
On this program on Thursday of last week, we aired a live demonstration CNN set up with law enforcement officials of a banned semi-automatic rifle and its legal counterpart. We reviewed that demonstration and one on another CNN program and decided that a more detailed report would better explain this complex issue. Here's CNN's John Zarrella.
This is a semi-automatic firearm. It instantly self-loads and fires one bullet for each trigger pull.
CNN found another sheriff, Gary Noe, a retired 30-year police officer and assistant chief in Oakland Park, Florida, to set the record straight.
It's exactly the same gun.
And the same firepower.
Same firepower, same bullet. You have to squeeze the trigger once to make a bullet go down the barrel.
The truth about a gun ban that's been a loser from the start.
It was a political soundbite meant to make people feel good. In fact, I think it was a hollow promise.
Well, the assault weapons ban has been useless.
A crime-fighting fraud that finally died a long overdue death. And that's because the staff at the NRA's Institute for Legislative Action, led by Chief Lobbyist Chris Cox, worked the halls of Congress and the media, making sure the ban wasn't extended and wasn't expanded.
You know, the reality is this law has been a failure. You know, it's nothing more than a symbolic measure that's had no impact on crime. And despite what the chief says, every legitimate law enforcement study has shown that this has had no impact whatsoever on reducing crime.
And despite the mass hysteria coming from our opponents, you know, these guns were rarely used in crime before the ban. They've rarely been used in crime during the ban, and they'll rarely be used in crime after the ban. So you're hearing a lot of rhetoric, Frederica.
But the anti-gun network is still embracing the ban, refusing to admit it's a failed experiment.
This ban has proven its success at getting dangerous guns out of the hands of violent people. It should be renewed without a doubt.
We are not going away. We will be back next year and the following year and the following year.
They'll be back because in the end what this really is all about is denying you your firearm freedom by systematically banning one class of firearms at a time.
They're going to keep chipping away, but you know, it's very rare that you win back rights that have once been lost. But we did it this time, and I think that signals something very important that people cannot be denied.